Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of SLAPP, the show where we bring out issues about the environment and put them on the table, looking at all points of view so that together we can make educated decisions and gather knowledge and go out into the world and spread the positive vibes. Tonight's show is a show that I think is very near and dear to many of your hearts, judging from the responses that I've been receiving from many of you. And the primary theme for tonight is looking at zoos as conservation platforms. You know, are they a good thing? Are they perhaps not the best thing for the interests of the animals? And jeepers creepers, guys, thank you. You've given me so much fantastic feedback and information. Now, zoos are definitely important conservation arenas. I myself was a young volunteer at the Johannesburg Zoo for a number of years. So I'm talking about this topic with you from a personal perspective, but I also wanted to talk about it because there's always more than one side. And having said that, I think let's launch straight away into the sort of maybe the negative side of zoos. And I'm going to ask Pete to roll with clip number one. Now, it's not gory, but it might sort of affect some of the more sensitive viewers. It's only a minute long, and I'm going to ask Pete to roll with that, please.
Oh my God! I'm taking a video of this shit. This is not even. Oh my God! They're gonna pour it out. Oh my God! This is the craziest. Oh my God! I feel so sorry. Oh! Run! Run! I feel so bad. Oh my God! Oh my God! No! Oh! Oh my God! Oh my God! Run for it! Oh, for it! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Too many tigers.
然后你就别看了。
Okay. It's definitely not easy to watch something like that. I think we'll all agree that that's quite frankly barbaric, and there are a couple of things about that particular zoo and feeding those tigers in question that disturbs me greatly. The first thing is that the zoo's conservation ethos has been completely compromised because they've gone for sheer entertainment factor. What bothered me so much about that clip was the reactions that the bevies of tourist buses were actually giving. I mean, you know, I thought we'd actually advanced beyond the ancient Roman days of the Colosseum with live human and animal slaughters taking place before us, and it was quite shocking to me, and it is shocking to me that in this day and age there are still institutes like this that are actually getting away with this kind of behavior. I mean, apart from anything else, what really bugs me is that those tigers are actually the worse off. First of all, they shouldn't be fed beef, although I suppose a lot of zoos have to resort to that because it is more cost effective. But tigers are solitary feeders. They should not be participating in group hunts like that. Plus, they are so overfed. Those cats aren't even disposing of their prey properly. So it's actually just cruel all around. And again, I must go back to the human reactions to that. It disturbs me that people are being taught to engage with wildlife through looking at the barbarism behind nature, and this raw entertainment factor is just completely wrong. I see already your comments are coming in, if I may. Penzandovu, not all zoos do this sort of thing. Kitty Cat, have we gone back to the Roman day? Look, I have to be honest with you, it shocks me, but it doesn't surprise me that this kind of thing happens. And the reason why I showed you that clip is not because of the pure shock value. I wanted to show you that clip because if we're going to engage in these debates, we have to look at what other types of institutes are out there. There might be the exception to the norm, but we need to be aware of what's going on because negative publicity for one institute often rubs off on others, even if they don't deserve it. Now, let me just read to you a little bit of the research that I actually came up with. Now, depending on your point of view, Zoos are either sanctuaries of education and entertainment, or they are unnecessary prisons. Now, the previous clip of the tigers shows them in a beautiful, big, wide open cage, but they're only in that cage so that the tourist buses can actually get in and out, and so that the poor cow that they release in front of it can run around. And whilst some people argue that zoos play an important role in conservation and research, others feel that they do more harm than good. Now, it was that kind of dichotomy of thinking that really prompted me to introduce the zoo topic to you, and just to see how you guys reacted. Just got some other comments coming in here. Cindy, a few bad ones make it bad for all. And that's actually probably one of the cruxes of the debate that we're going to have tonight. Now, I don't actually believe that that is the norm. And one of the interesting things that came out of this when I was doing my research, I don't know whether you guys knew this already, but the claim that animals have rights was first put forward by an Australian gentleman. He was a philosopher by the name of Peter Singer in the 1970s. And ever since this concept was introduced, it's been the topic of hot debates, because very often the same organizations that campaign on environmental issues are all concerned for the welfare of the animals and the ultimate best thing for them. But both sets of concerns derive from a commitment to the value of nature and the earth. In the graph earlier on, okay, which basically takes us through I could say ancient times. You know, we're going back to Rome, we're going back to Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt. I mean, you know, the pharaohs and people like that often used to have wild animals sort of sitting next to their thrones and stuff. So wild animals being a part of people's lives is not a new concept, and it's certainly not a modern one. And I have to be honest, guys, I'm so glad I live in this day and age, because if I look at some of the positive steps that are being taken for animal welfare and conservation in zoological gardens, there's some great examples going on out there. But I'll get back to that right now. What I found quite interesting was, before the 1800s, it was more the concept of a menagerie. A menagerie is basically a gathering of animals together for sort of private pleasure or viewing. And the aims of these menageries were demonstrations of wealth and power. Look at me, I'm so fabulous, look at all these animals that I can house and control. It was also for pleasure, okay, people weren't all sort of barbaric and brutal. But it was also for research, but you know, it was so limited with what could happen, because animals were not in their natural habitats. And they kind of used nasty kind of enclosures and pits and cages and stuff for the animals. And then as man moved into the 19th century, the aims of zoological gardens suddenly became about slightly different things. It became about recreation, became about education, and also research. And the research would incorporate things like, say, comparative anatomy and physiology and taxonomy and acclimatization. And they kind of had traditional enclosures. Once we moved through into the 20th and 21st century, the aims of zoos remained the same, sort of recreation, conservation, education. But the exhibitry, the way that these animals were actually displayed to and for the public, changed dramatically. Now, this sort of twist that we've got with zoos is that we're all nature lovers. I mean, that's why we're here together on Wild Earth, and that's why you guys are tuning into SLAPP. So we can look at things from a slightly different angle, and you know, it's kind of like a guilt complex for me, because zoo animals are so fantastic. There's no doubt that if in the proper environments and the proper settings and so forth, they can inspire us. There's no doubt about that. I consider myself privileged to have been able to interact with certain sort of animals through my years as a young volunteer at the zoo. And I just wanted to read some of the feedback that you guys have given me over the course of the past couple of days. Joyce Fuller wrote to us and said, "I would be so sad without zoos, because this is the only way I can see these incredible animals live. Education is important, and in the US, we must support our zoos through dollars." Teresa Whitman said, okay. Bear with us for a moment. Sorry, we had a slight technical glitch there with the sound. Okay, Pete's giving me the thumbs up. Good.